Hello, stylish folk, and welcome back to Handcut Radio. I'm your host, Alex Svetkovich.
Am I done bearing with it?
Yeah, you're done bearing with it now.
He told me to bear with his intro before we started recording.
I told him to act like a real grizzly.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pause. I'm gonna pause for. Hold on, I'm gonna cheat out to the camera for laughter real quick.
Pause? Do you like a bear pause?
There we go. That's funny. That's really funny.
Yeah. Okay.
If y'all were like, what's going on with Alex Petrovich? It's just a joke. This is actually Style Direction, the menswear podcast without the stuffiness. It's actually Ethan Long.
Know what jokes are? I'm kind of worried that actually, maybe we have to explain.
Do you think they know what? Do you think they know what Joker is?
Oh man. Oh man.
Oh, by the way, so you guys, if you're newly listening to this and you're at the menswear, I'm sorry, but for old listeners, you guys know that we just kind of shoot the shit for like the first 5 minutes.
Yep.
Real quick, we saw Joker a couple weeks ago.
We saw it opening weekend, and we didn't die, believe it or not.
We didn't die, and we're also not incels. We didn't get turned into becoming an incel.
So. No, but we do live in a society.
Yeah. What happens?
Yeah, what happens? Murray. So here's my history with Joker, the movie Joker.
You gotta introduce yourself first of all.
Oh, my name's Spencer. I'm Joker now. I'm Spencer Oddie.
Okay. There you go.
So when Joker was first announced, I was like, hey, I really like Joaquin Phoenix. I hope this is good. I hadn't heard of the director because I haven't seen the Hangover movies because I don't really care to.
You're missing out on some cinema.
Yeah, he was the director of the Hangover movies, and I was like, I don't know, he could be good. Joaquin is pretty picky, so normally when he signs onto projects, it's because he likes it. Then I was pretty optimistic for a while. Then a script leaked. A script leaked.
Nini.
When are they going to make
Sad
a
jokes
gritty
explained.
movie about them? Noonie and Noonie.
We already have Night at the Roxbury.
That's true. So. But a script leaked. I read that, and it is an awful screenplay. And so a lot has changed, but I think it was a generally pretty goofy movie that pretends to have a lot to say, but doesn't really say anything.
I think the critics or whoever, honestly, I think that at least Todd Phillips, what I got from it is that it's just a kind of a cool, superhero movie that's different. Mm-hmm. I think trying to assign things to it is where things start falling apart. Like when you're critiquing it.
If they had taken it a little bit less seriously, I think it would have been fine. But
I think it does not take it seriously. I think it really doesn't. I think people are just really like, oh, because it's so different, we have to assign like things to this kind of thing. You know?
I mean, my opinion.
But then Todd Phillips has been on interviews. He does say like this is so important.
Yeah, and also there's the monologue that the Joker gives where it's like, we're not allowed to make jokes anymore or whatever, which is the lamest thing.
Oh yeah, well maybe I just had high hopes for this.
Yeah, so it's like I thought it was okay.
If you guys think that Spencer and I should review movies, please let us know and consider if that could be Patreon content. I'm being totally serious.
We talked about doing just like movie commentaries.
Style, yeah. At the very least.
But it's like go watch.
Lots of our friends love watching movies with us. So
go watch King of Comedy and Taxi Driver instead of watching Joker. That's my review. Okay.
There you go. So, I think we've been on a roll lately with a couple of our episodes. I've been getting really great feedback from our friends and listeners. We've been tackling some stuff like, social media was a good one, but I think details matter and the rules especially. As Sato Kaiba says, screw the rules, I've got money.
Oh man, throwback.
Yeah. You guys remember Yu-Gi-Oh, right?
How about Yu-Gi-Oh Abridged?
Okay, I'm going to play this one more time. There was Yu-Gi-Oh! The Random Improv Dub, which is lost to time. It came out, like in 2006, 2007, back like maybe like a year or two before a Bridge series came out. And I loved it because it was like guys with just like a microphone just dubbing like the crap out of Yu-Gi-Oh! But like whatever came into their minds. It might not have aged, there's probably a lot of like gay jokes and stuff that probably wouldn't fly anymore. But at the time, it was insanely, it was like random humor. It was like like very
who doesn't love random humor?
Maybe it's not as good as I thought it was.
I watched the Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged series, but I never watched a second of Yu-Gi-Oh!
It's probably better, maybe.
Yeah.
Actually, no, they're both pretty ridiculous.
Okay.
But anyway, so we thought we would continue our little series on ranting about menswear. You know, well, that's what we thought last time. Like, we're just kind of voicing our grievances, right?
Yeah. Continue it.
Yeah, and this one is going to be on the rule of cool,
which I believe
now,
we talked about in the last
episode.
We've
referenced it a little bit, and it's how would you define rule of cool, Spencer?
I don't know. Some things are cool and some things aren't, and it's just like it's kind of nebulous. I don't. This can't be a term that we. I mean, I know it's not a term that we coined, but maybe we're using it slightly differently.
I don't think I've heard it used in menswear.
Yeah.
As much.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, and it goes back to like when we were both like more into vintage and like period accurate outfits, and like what period accurate outfits are cool and which ones are kind of like lame.
Right. I think so. I don't remember exactly when I first started using it, but like Spencer says, this comes up a lot in the vintage context, because when you're in vintage Facebook groups, chats, or whatever, or just going to an event, they'll always be like, "Man, why isn't it cool to dress up anymore? Like, how is wearing joggers cool, but wearing a nice 3-piece suit uncool?" And at the time, maybe I'm looking at it more fondly now, but I always felt that I think both can be cool, but sometimes it's the people who don't make it cool, and that could be a big part of it.
Yeah.
But there is that idea of like, oh, people should like this. People should think this is cool. And I think it is cool. I think, because it's not a far reach, to look at, say, Taylor Cade's period accurate, suits, and then seeing a guy who is kind of not cosplaying, but, like super in the 60s clothing. And I think Taylor Cade looks cool.
Yeah.
In most cases, and it's, we'll probably dive into this, but like, it's all about like attitude, maybe like the way you present yourself. But there is this idea of, if it's cool, people will like it, and if it's not cool, people won't like it. And
I think the key, at least when I've been thinking about it, is just kind of being casual with it. And I think, that's, most people would say that that's cool in general. But I'm not saying it's like, oh, you can't wear a suit, but if you can wear a suit and make it look casual, that's cooler than being like so prim and proper and worrying about like tie blade length and all that stuff all the time.
Yeah, and I guess this is why it ties in directly with the whole rules thing, because I think the consensus we came to in the last episode was that true personal style can't be achieved unless you break the rules a little bit or have fun with your interpretation of the rules, And so I think I'm not sure if I mentioned this in the Bryceland's episode or during my Japan trip, but when I was talking to Ethan Newton, and we were just kind of talking about how people wear their clothes, the people that I know, what's it like being in LA, and he kind of said, I might be paraphrasing, it's been months since I've been there already, but he said something to the effect of, at the end of the day, we're wearing old man clothes, we're wearing like these old, he doesn't see it as costume, maybe a regular person might, but like, he's wearing like basically a 40s 50s reproduction shirt, which is kind of like what old people tend to wear. He's wearing pleats, he's wearing these like loafers that, again, people think are kind of old, but he always said like, it's my job to make it look cool, because if it's not cool, people won't buy it and I won't have a business, and that's kind of like the appeal of why we like Bryceland's, why we like Drake's, because they're able to take such, old people clothes or nerd clothes, as some people might call them, because it's like ties, button-down collars, or whatever, but the way that they present themselves is just so cool, inherently cool, that it has like this big appeal to it. And that's why I think that classic menswear was such a big draw for me, because at a certain point I didn't think that wearing vintage was cool.
Yeah, and again, I think it depends on what vintage, because when I started,
okay,
so I was big into the bold look for a while, just because that stuff tends to be cheap because no one else wants it, and I think I just tricked myself into really liking it. And
It's
there's something
I love
about it.
TV dinners. They're so good. They're
Yeah,
so
exactly.
cheap and therefore so good.
It's like I could get a suit for like less than $100. So I was like, okay, this is the cool thing. And it's like I think if you yeah, what was I even going on with this? Okay, I no longer think that the bold look kind of stuff is cool. I think it's too kind of like aw shucks, kind of like Norman Rockwell-y Americana.
Yeah.
But the other aesthetic that I don't think anyone else has ever defined except for me, and I have a very nebulous idea of what it is the 50s con man, which I think I've mentioned in another episode.
Yeah, I'm vaguely remembering this.
So it's like that I think is cool, but I think that's just kind of like sleazy 50s style with like wild like sport shirts and like maybe flex suits or stuff like that.
Yeah.
A lot of darker colors, but it's different than like, you know, a light blue, really bold double-breasted suit, stuff like that.
Right. Well, see, I think the thing there with like the 50s or even late 40s is that I don't know if you guys can hear that little cart going outside, because I can hear it.
I
don't
can't
know if
hear
the
it.
Okay, good. Then then didn't need to bring it up.
Yeah.
But like for me, it's hard to make elbow patches, shoulder pads look cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it's kind of, I don't know. When I think of something cool, I think of like someone slouching over, you know,
Exactly.
a little bit of that. I mean, it can go down because, you know, you watch like 90s cartoons, you get all like the popular kids in school kind of like leaning on like the lockers or something, and you know, when you're a kid, you're like, oh, that guy's clearly cool, and it's a lot of body language stuff. And I think that, you know, the idea behind shoulder pads is that it's supposed to build you up more than you are. You know, it's inherently fake in a sense, right? You're masquerading a little bit.
Phonies.
And so, yeah, phony. You guys remember that Family Guy?
There you go.
Yeah, I'll bring it back. But you know, it's like when you're doing it like that, it's kind of hard to be cool, because then you're just not being yourself. And I think that if you know, like we said before, being yourself and being comfortable in your own skin or being comfortable in your style is a cool thing to do. Now, it's not to say that like Edward Sexton or Alex Vetkovich that I graciously parodied early in this episode.
Yeah.
Imitation. No, but like, you know, like Edward Sexton suits, Chiffonelli suits, they look cool as hell, and they have some, you know, crazy shoulder treatment there.
But
so
I think it's also, the difference is just like when you think about like the suits that they would make for rock stars in the 60s and 70s.
And that's cool.
And again, it has to do with all the attitude of the people wearing it. So it's
That's
like,
true.
if you look at like Mick Jagger, David Bowie or whatever, most of the time they were just, you know, they had these really bold suits with heavily padded shoulders, really nipped waist, stuff like that, but they still looked like it could have been like they were wearing like, you know, like just a leather jacket or whatever in their attitude.
Yeah. And I think that aspect is what is missing from a lot of, like, if we bring it back to like the vintage thing, because I think, again, the big argument here is usually, why isn't vintage menswear cool, you know? And it doesn't help that these guys that are into it kind of like, we talked about this like a long time ago, but like they always try and act like high society, like not Art Deco society, what do you call it, like high society kind of stuff.
Just like upper crust, yeah.
Upper crust, you know, like they always, like, whenever they take a picture, they're always like kind of like posing affectedly. You know, they have like a cane or something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they like put their hand on like their jacket, like they're like a fucking railroad prospect, like the owner of
magnet, yeah.
Yeah. And no one takes pictures like that, you know? Like, even if you look at, I always say, like, when you look at old photographs of like Gary Cooper, Fred Astaire, they're always kind of like, I mean, at least my favorite pictures are always like, they're always like slouching a little bit. There's one really good one of Jimmy Stewart, who is one of my style icons. You know, he's like, I think like has his hands in his pockets, kind of like lean, like walking, his tie is kind of like flapping out of his jacket because his pants are super high. The jacket V is kind of low, so his tie kind of goes through it. But that seems kind of cool.
And
like,
you
you know,
Jimmy Stewart wore a ton of like really heavily padded suits, but again, it goes down to the attitude. He always looked cool in them.
Yeah, there's one of my favorite ones is like he's he's like sitting in a chair, but like not correctly. Now I'll put this in the show notes. But
he's sitting in it. His head is on the seat and his ass is up in the air.
Yeah, no, like he's kind of like it's like a really like loose way of sitting on this chair, and he's like his head's tilted back, and he's like spewing out like cigar smoke or cigarette smoke or whatever, and that might not be slouchy, but that still looks cool. And then you compare it to like vintage guys or even guys who are into menswear nowadays who want to be like dapper all the time, these dapper bros, you know, like they're like holding up a champagne glass with like a cigar. It just doesn't look cool.
Mm-hmm. It looks like you're just trying too hard.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like the opposite, you know, like there's like a fine line between not caring and caring.
Yeah.
And that line is being cool. And you know, it's I don't know exactly the goal of this. I mean, maybe the whole goal of this episode is kind of like kind of discussing it, people talking about it, because, you know, we run into this problem quite a bit, I think, Spencer, you know, when we have people who are unsure how to wear certain things. They message us, right? Like, hey, I want to get into menswear. How do I not look like a nerd or a dork or something? Mm-hmm. And, you know, oftentimes, you know, when they're on a picture, it's like, you know, they're saying a little too straight, you know, they're trying to be a little too proper. And I think, you know, one reason might be that being slouchy or being comfortable in your clothing kind of goes against the ideas of menswear or like the rules of menswear. Yeah. You know how like some people say like, oh yeah, a good suit isn't a good suit unless it's got structure or whatever. Like it's got to correct your posture. It's going to make you look kind of buff, you know. No one wants to like fist their pockets. Fisting your pockets looks cool as hell. You know, I always said that you put your hands in your leather jacket, you put your hands in your denim jacket. Why don't you put it in your fucking suit jacket, right? And it's like about exuding that kind of vibe, because leather jackets and denim jackets are cool. So translate that to
make suits out of denim.
Yeah, exactly. Who was it? Bing Crosby.
Yeah, Bing Crosby.
Bing Crosby.
For those of you who don't know, the term Canadian, this is kind of disputed, but the term Canadian tuxedo was thought to be coined because of Bing Crosby, who was kicked out of a hotel, a Canadian hotel, because he was wearing blue jeans. And so in response, Levi's made him a literal denim tuxedo, and LVC has re-released it a couple times, but it's I don't think I would buy it. Maybe if I had more disposable income, I would. But it's kind
of wild.
Yeah. Yeah, you should look it up. It's fun. It has like a little.
We'll put in the show notes.
Carnation, yeah, carnation made of like red tabs and rivets.
Yeah, but so like, you know, and I think Spencer and I have also met a bunch of people who maybe not necessarily dressed like us or dressed like in our style, but they're still super cool. Yeah. You know, and it takes a bit of comfort to kind of achieve that. So what do you think it takes to be comfortable, like in clothing or in menswear?
I think it's just like being not as worried about how other people perceive you, or at least just pretending you don't care as much. As we've said many times before, just a more casual attitude. Like, don't be too worried about like, oh, this is gonna get wrinkled or whatever. Oh, I might, I might like tear something. I mean, obviously, if it's a very expensive suit, you're going to be a little bit worried about it. Ethan is currently pointing to his vintage Oxford shirt, which has a blown out elbow.
Yeah. I was like typing and I like kind of adjusted myself and I heard a rip and I thought, I swear to God, I hope this isn't the sport coat. And I checked the sport coat. I'm like, oh, I'm good. And then I'm like, oh wait, it's probably my shirt then.
and then you realized it was your skin.
Yeah, I was just, the blood everywhere.
And I think it's just not acting like you don't think you're better than everyone else is another aspect to it.
Yeah, because I mean, bringing that back, I mean, actually, that works for both menswear and vintage menswear, because, you know, they always say, oh, why don't people think this is cool? And then they'll go right back into, like, shitting on other people, like, oh, people shouldn't wear sweatpants or whatever, you know, or hey, obviously this guy doesn't care, or, you know, and it's such a weird thing. It's like, why do you think people don't like the way you dress, you know, or they're the niche, you know, group that you're in, you know, if you're going to be that kind of, going to have that kind of hate for other people or other styles of dress. And, so I definitely agree. I mean, being okay with things is one thing, and I think it takes like a little bit of self-awareness. This is like the way I see it, because it's kind of like, it's kind of like Ethan Newton said, like he's very aware that he's wearing like a fedora or an old poop,
gross,
an old school shirt and pleated pants. He's very aware of it, but like he's not trying to build himself up as like, oh, you see, I'm bringing it back because these are superior to every other garment out there. He's wearing it because he likes it. And he,
and I mean, yeah, just that's another good point. Just wearing things because you like it.
Yeah, I'm definitely guilty of wearing things just for work. I mean, again, I work in the menswear industry, and occasionally I have to change after work because I'm not gonna wear a fucking suit to like play video games with my friends. I'm not that stupid. I'm a little stupid, but it takes that like self-awareness to like kind of be like, yeah, you know what, like these are just clothes, and I'm gonna wear it like the way I want it, and people definitely notice. I mean, there are so many people, like, one of the best compliments I ever got, it's from my friend Doug, but he told me, like, when he was looking at the Flickr, because we're all in my Flickr account so people can download the pictures I take of them, and he's all like, it's so weird, like, you look so comfortable in everything you're wearing, and it's because I just bought these M43 military, like, World War II pants. They've got like kind of like, they're super wide leg, super high waisted, flat front with like I guess thigh or hip patch pockets as opposed to like regular slant pockets or whatever. Yeah. And it's definitely different than what I normally wear, but like I just uploaded the pictures and Doug was like, dang dude, you look good, like it was a good buy for you. And yeah, it was a great compliment, but I feel like everything I wear, I am comfortable because I like them. It makes me picky. We could probably talk about being picky in another episode, but I only tend to buy things that I know I'm going to wear or that I know I can pull off. But that in turn makes it that every outfit that I do, anything I put together, comes from a place of authenticity and enjoyment and genuine enjoyment.
And that's going back to the details episode.
Oh yeah, no, exactly. And I think, when you like all that, like I think when I first started wearing white socks, I was like, oh man, like, this is so crazy. In probably my early outfits, it probably didn't work, or maybe you could see that I'm trying to make them work, and now I just wear them all the time. That lots of my friends, whether it's like MJ, wears white socks or whatever, it makes them go like, hey, it looks good, you look comfortable, you look cool in it, I can do it too.
Yeah.
And yeah, people definitely notice. A lot of people are more concerned about how dressed up you are. I think people are more people take into consideration how comfortable you are, because I think vintage people and menswear people tend to dress up for people to notice, but I think that I tend to blend in with my clothing, but it's still interesting enough that when you do notice it, you're like, oh shit, that's weird. Yeah. But it's cool. Like, I think that by rule of cool, you're able to like wear a 3-piece suit and a beret, but you'll like fit into the crowd, as opposed to wearing like a 3-piece suit and a fedora and you're trying to like strut like you're being so smug and walking around. So smug. I think that, and this goes to what Spencer said, right? Like what you said earlier, like when you try and call attention to yourself, it's just not cool. Or maybe I said that. I don't remember.
Someone said that. Maybe none of us said it, but you're saying
maybe
it now.
Maybe the ghost said it.
Oh my god. The third host of this podcast, our ghost host.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul Freeze.
Yep. Victor Freeze.
I was about to say.
Yeah.
But this kind of reminds me of something that you've always told me, Spencer. When we're talking, this is off topic, but it's related.
Okay.
It's like when someone's asked you, like, how do you come up with jokes all the time? Like, how do you like, like, how do you like? Do you write them all down?
Oh my god, yeah.
If you guys don't recall, me and Spencer make jokes like a lot, and we just kind of blow past it.
Did we establish if they know what jokes are?
No, we established that they're jokers.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I had one person not come up to me like in the middle of a crowd and was like, hey, I know you. But we were talking and I was like riffing on a topic, and he was like, do you just like memorize these like jokes and these fake facts so you could pull them out later? I'm like, nope. Just right off the dome.
Yeah,
and it was nuts to me that someone assumed that I had a joke book at home that I'm like, okay, if someone brings up
they
this
thought
topic,
you were Joker.
Well, I hope my life makes more sense than my death or whatever. Nope. Flip that.
There you go. Flip them.
Flip them.
No, yeah. I mean, it's like when things are cool, things are easy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm not gonna lie though. Spencer and I do talk before events, be like, "Hey, what the hell are we gonna wear to this event?"
Yeah.
You know, because we
Like, we
do
think
you know,
about it.
Yeah, we think, but there's a difference between thinking about something and then like overanalyzing,
Mm-hmm.
and just trying to make a big deal a bigger deal out of it than it already is.
Yeah.
You know,
Because
And at the end
normally,
of the
if I
day-
don't know what I'm
yeah.
going to be wearing to an event, I'll say I'll figure it out tomorrow, like, or the day of the event.
it's
And
a
then
problem for future Spencer.
yeah, exactly. And then I figure it out. I don't spend so much time thinking it's like, oh my. I mean, it's like I think about it in the back of my head, but I'm not obsessing about it.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So as we get to like the halfway mark here, what do you think are pieces of clothing that are inherently cool?
Oh, I thought you were just going to stop
Inherently
it
cool.
there.
What do you think about clothing, Spencer?
What do you think are pieces of clothing? Shirts, pants,
Ropes.
So I mean, it's like you could go back to the classics like denim jackets, leather jackets, which we mentioned in this episode. So
It's because they're casual, right?
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
like-
Just and we'll get into casual stuff later because I have
Yeah.
I have a list of the coolest places to get clothing, both like menswear and casual wear.
yeah.
So we'll rank that. I mean, yeah, a lot of casual stuff. I think certain, like, I like 3-roll-2 jackets. I think those are cool.
Yeah, well, because I was gonna say that, like, I think that natural shoulder
Yeah.
stuff is just inherently cool because it just lays off your shoulder. You know, it just kind of, you know, whether it's like on the seam like an Ivy one or it's like extended like Dalkaware.
Yeah.
You know, it's just so inherently like loose, and it's very interesting because even like extended shoulders, you know, like we just said, like that's cool because it builds you up, but then if you add in like the softness, it's kind of like, oh, it's built up, but I don't care that much. You know, it's not padded. You know, and like the way things kind of lay off you, you know, like a well-worn denim jacket. You know, you could make the analogies there, but like that to me is what makes tailoring really cool.
Yeah.
Because it follows the line, and it's when things are soft, things are more casual. Ergo, they are cooler. You know, and I would say that wide legs are inherently cool to me. Like skinny, again, is kind of like trying too hard, but then wide legs is like, who cares, dude? Like, it's all flowy.
It's
you
a
know?
little bit more casual.
Yeah, and you can look at like Scott Fraser Simpson. That guy just exudes cool. You know, he wears
Yeah.
like the craziest wide leg pants, the gaucho pants with that lack like a closure or a belt or whatever. Like those look super dope.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is interesting, and we could talk about this in the future. But I think that ties inherently are cooler. Like wearing a tie is cooler than not wearing a tie, and I will explain that.
Okay.
Because I think that when you take off the tie, it's like you are defaulting to like, oh, business casual. But when you have a tie on, it has like there's like another area for you to be careless about. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. Like it's kind of like seeing like a guy. Like if you think of like Michael Bluth, you know, wearing like an Oxford shirt, rolled up sleeves with like slacks, and you see like a guy from like Drake's wearing like a soft shoulder jacket with like a tie tucked in, you know, I think one looks cooler than the other one, and that could be bias, but it's also
I think
like
it also depends because it's like for the most part I agree, but if we're not talking about Michael Bluth, it's like, you know, a guy that shops at like, I don't know, where do people shop in 2003? Kohl's. If or
Sure.
like Nordstrom or whatever,
Yeah.
Versus a guy who's wearing like a good Oxford and good chinos and stuff like that. I
Yeah.
think it would be different.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I obviously Spencer and I are going to be biased in general
Yeah.
with this whole thing, but I mean, yeah. So like personally with me, like I feel cooler wearing a jacket and tie than to wear like an open buttoned Oxford by itself. You know, again, if I want to default to the no tie, like I would wear a sports shirt which lacks a collar band, so the collar points just kind of lay flat. Therefore, looking cool,
Yeah.
you know, looking easier to wear. But like with ties, like my whole thing with that is kind of just, you know, it's you know, you can tuck them in, you can do whatever, you know, and I think that's what makes it like an interesting choice, because you are intentionally picking something that adds to the outfit as opposed to just removing something. Because again, this could also be biased too, but like I tend to err on like wearing more clothes than to take clothes off. I have sex wearing clothes. Yeah, I'm a never nude, guys. Yeah. In terms of shoes, I think loafers are cool compared to like, I mean, inherently, right? You slip them on, they expose more of your foot, but they have this kind of like, when you really think about it, like they're kind of got this androgynous, maybe feminine aesthetic, because you know they're kind of like slippers or whatever, right? And I think that contrast against a trouser or with a sock is cool. You know, it's a little bit.
Or you can go on, but just finish.
I was gonna say, like, it's just, I'm finishing all over this place.
Okay.
It's not that kind of podcast. But no, I think that, like, you know, that kind of interaction there, you know, not only is it easier to wear than like a full-on lace-up like an Oxford or a Derby, but that it's sometimes the incorrect choice, which goes back to the whole details episode, like, or the rules episode, where like, oh, some people don't like wearing loafers because they're casual, but like that's what makes it cool. And that's, if I want to look cool with footwear, like with classic menswear, I end up wearing a loafer just because it's so easy to slip on. It's cool.
Yeah. So today or yesterday, I put this on, that we posted something about useful fall winter shoes, and Derek has a line about Norwegian split toes, which is a piece of shoes that footwear that I think is cool, that kind of stuck out.
Those are cool.
And he said it's kind of like the penny loafers equivalent of lace ups. They're both a little bit more casual. And that's true. That's it. So here we go. Wingtips are too common. Cap toes are too plain. Norwegian split toes. Plant your feet on the ground and say you like something a little bit different.
And I think that's the idea behind being cool. I mean, there's that whole essence of rebellion, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's cool. Rebel style. Godspeed, rebels. The Last Jedi was great.
I mean, orange jumpsuits are pretty cool.
Yeah, no, they are cool. And you know, I'm sure at this point, you know, people listening are kind of be like, the line between the two is still very confusing. It's kind of hard to walk through too, because there are people out there who just wear Oxfords. You know, I think that I guess, you know, you could say the Armory guys wear more Oxfords than, you know, maybe like the Brysons guys, but the Armory guys still look cool. You know, but yeah, like what else is? I mean, I used to think fedoras were cool. Then I thought they were uncool, and then now I think they're cool again.
I think it depends. I think it depends on how you're wearing it and what you're wearing it with. I tend to like Western style fedoras a little bit more, which again, a little bit more casual, a little bit different.
Yeah.
Dressier I mean, I think we'd both agree that dressy fedoras are harder to wear just because they're dressy.
They're harder to wear, but I like when you see it done so good, it still looks so cool.
Yeah.
You know, like I get, like, even when I look for inspiration, like when it gets to fall, I still wear my fedora like when it rains or something.
This episode is not going to be helpful to anyone because we're just unless they message us directly a piece of clothing and say, "Is this cool?
Is this cool or not?" You know, yeah. But it's just it's worth talking about because it's just so hard to find what the right answer is. You know?
I mean, there's no right answer.
And here's something else subjective too. But I mean, here's this too. It's that cool is also subjective, not just to you but to people seeing it. Mm-hmm. And that, I think, is definitely a harder thing to kind of do, which is why I guess it errs on the casual side, because casual to everyone around the world will always be cool. Yeah. You know, you'll always look at like James Dean, Marlon Brando wearing their leather jackets, t-shirts, and jeans. You know, and like they'll be like, "Damn, that's cool." You know,
that's why people started dressing down is just because in the, you know, like when L.A. and Hollywood started being like the big new hot city, everyone around here always dressed a little bit more down. Everyone else, this is all not supported by any evidence. It's just my personal theory.
Yeah, we're not trying to get our PhDs. We're not going up against the doctorate board right now.
Yeah, but it's like, the hippie movement came out of California. It kind of spread. Other people would be like, oh, we want to be cool like California, so they started dressing down.
No, yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. So
Mm-hmm.
it definitely depends on how other people will see you, like I said, because, you know, it also, I mean, maybe it could be like the way you take pictures of yourself. I mean, that's like the biggest way for you to share yourself with the world nowadays, right?
Yeah.
And this goes back to when I first started my blog, when I was in the vintage menswear, in these Facebook groups. Guys would take pictures of themselves, but it would always be bad pictures.
Mm-hmm. They'd be incredibly like stiff and everything.
Yeah, or they take it with like, like a lame cell phone picture or whatever. And there's nothing wrong, if you don't have the technology for it. But, after a certain point, it's like how you present yourself online, or how you present yourself to where other people can see you, will affect how cool you are. Yeah. And, like it was I didn't get to go onto this with Ethan Newton, or I didn't get to say it earlier, but like when we were talking about like, oh, he's wearing old man clothing, he's like, yeah, he's got to learn how to take a good picture, because if he were to like look the way he does, it doesn't matter how cool he is. If he has a shitty picture, no one's gonna be into it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, and that could be also why a lot of people in menswear are really into photography. Like Mark Cho and Rob Spangle, like, yeah, those guys are inherently cool. They're very charismatic. They're very confident, but they know how to curate a good image and share that.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's why, streetwear is so great, because streetwear blends this idea of our artistry between, photography and fashion, that even though streetwear might be even crazier than menswear, like there's a lot of subsections, a lot of different genres, a lot of interesting choices there, but they always look so damn cool, and a part of it could be the clothes, part of it could be the image, but it's that combination together that ensures that people will look at it and be like, damn, that's good. You know.
And I think even with streetwear, it depends, because it's like, if you browse the top of the streetwear subreddit or whatever, or I can't think of any streetwear guys on Instagram off the top of my head that we follow. But it's like, if you look at good streetwear, it looks good, but then you can look at like before, like Takeshi 6ix9ine or whatever, before he got famous, there's a picture of him wearing like a jumpsuit that says 69 all over it, and I think he looks lame as fuck. I think it's very try hard. So it also goes back to not being a try hard.
Yeah. So I guess to sum up, in a sense, you shouldn't try hard, and but also be conscious of the vibes you're putting out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I like to think that Spencer and I are cool. I mean, I like to think that. I
like to think it.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone else shares that view.
Yeah.
But also at the end of the day, like, if you think it's cool, you should just do it. Just a little bit of self-awareness. When you find yourself putting that feather in your fedora, in the band on your fedora, and you think this is cool, maybe not. Maybe don't do that.
Skip it.
Yeah, but you think, oh, I'm wearing these shoes. I'm wearing pants. Why don't I try loafers? Try that, or experiment with softer tailoring, because that's just my bias. But I think that you'll look cool in it. Or straight up, Edward Sex it, baby.
Okay. So
do you think he listens to this?
I hope so. Should we go through my list?
Yeah, go ahead. What does Spencer think?
So this is again off the dome. I'm gonna start with casual. I'm gonna start with menswear.
Bring it on, Chrome Dome.
I'm gonna start with menswear, like the coolest places to get things, and then we'll talk about casual wear, and that could kind of lead up into a discussion on that. So I think with menswear, tailored clothing, the coolest, bespoke. That's the coolest place to get tailored clothing, especially if it's from like a local tailor, or I don't know, someone Italian, I guess. If it's a big tailor, like make it someone cool, which is difficult.
What are you saying right now?
I don't know. Made to measure after that. Then I think vintage, and then vintage or thrifted, and then I think department stores. Department
Well, I
stores
mean,
are the
those
least cool places you can get suits from.
Yeah, because those all like have kind of informed decisions behind it, right? Like
Yeah.
with bespoke, you're choosing this place. You know, you're
Mhm.
going to a studied place. With made to measure, same thing. You know, you're going to like Stofa is really cool.
Yeah.
You know, even the website is cool. You know, they
Mhm.
make pleated pants, but like the way they present it, you know, that's a big thing. That like I just said, it's about blending art and photography and everything all together. But then, you know, you got your department store. That's not
That's
it's
the
not it's
default, yeah.
inherently not cool because you're going to default, you're going to the mall, you're going to Macy's to buy these things, you know, and it doesn't really have a sense of personality in itself. You know, you might be able to pick something out of the department store's selection,
Mhm.
which could speak to you, which is, you know, it's cool. Some people, like our friend Andy, I think has bought some stuff from like, I don't know, Nordstrom that like I'm surprised that Nordstrom even had, but that's cool. The chances of messing up there are pretty big, but you know, it still could be worth it. And then with thrifting, you know, it's like that's like all on you, dude. Like you gotta have the eye, and recycling, ethical fashion is cool and everything. So
Okay, and then so for casual wear, I think the coolest place you can get casual clothes is inheriting it, if it has like family history or whatever. Uh, damn.
okay,
Damn, dude. So good luck with that. You can't really get that. You just have to already have it. So
it's kind of like a fuck you.
yeah. I think then it's like flea markets, then thrift stores. No, I'm gonna put vintage stores, like curated vintage stores above thrift stores, and after that, it's like buying it new. And also, just one last thing: true vintage is gonna be cooler than reproduction, and I say that as someone who has a lot of reproduction clothing.
Because again, the story is inherent in the piece and the
Yeah.
details.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that communicating a story is cool. You know, obviously, like when you've got like a reason behind the stuff that you do, you know, is cool. You know, some of that story could be like, especially that you inherited it. Could be that
Mhm.
you found it. Could also be that you just like it.
Yeah.
And being able to communicate that, I mean, that's like a big challenge, obviously. But being able to like kind of show off who you are in an authentic way that isn't trying to like oversell yourself, I think that will always be cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like again, we've got lots of friends who like to dress up, lots of friends who like to dress down, and we think all of them are very cool. You know, they're not trying to put on airs. You know, and some of them who happen to do like, you know, I don't like drinking a lot or smoking, but some of our friends do. But when they talk about it, they actually like it. They're not doing it because like, oh, I gotta be super fancy, I gotta get this super expensive bottle of scotch. Like, no, like I've gone around, tried different scotches, the one I like, and I like drinking it,
Mhm.
and that's cool. That's cool. You know, I think drinking taro boba is cool because that's
Because you like it.
That's because I like it, and it's always cool.
Yeah.
But no, I think having that, I know this is kind of a weird episode to have, but I think that honing down into like what your story is and how you want to express yourself is the cool part. And I just wish more guys out there kind of knew that, or at least had the discussion of like what makes this cool and how
Mhm.
am I presenting it, because again, there are guys out there who do it and are not cool, and then they usually those guys tend to become very salty and kind of antagonistic toward any other styles of dress. You know,
You're saying the word cool too much. I know it's the topic of the episode,
yeah,
but
take a shot every time we say cool, and then
You're gonna
go get your
die.
stomach pumped.
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you know, if you guys have your own thoughts about it, we'll answer them immediately in the next episode. But we have
Not
that
immediately. 2 weeks from now.
yeah. Well, I meant like in the next episode, you'll have those questions answered.
Yeah.
But yeah, leave a response or submit a question or so it's in the show notes and also the episode description.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think we discussed enough about the cool aspects of stuff. And right? Do you have any other thoughts, Spencer?
That's about it. I mean, the cool people, as we said before, have always been the rebels, the people who don't really care about the rules as much.
Yeah.
So just
And I
do
mean,
that.
and also like, and again, like I think it on the subject of like presentation, like you gotta look at old pictures. You know, look at like those pictures like Yves Saint Laurent, you know, Jimmy Stewart smoking, or even like Drake's, and like try and see like what are they doing in these pictures that make them look so cool. Like you really gotta think about it. If you get tired there.
I mean, think about like, you know, the Drake's Instagram versus like the random Instagrams like that follow you. That's like real men's fashion, like always. And it's these. Have we talked about the thing that was posted on MFA that a friend of ours also sent us a while back, where this brand that's supposed to be for like, you know, bodybuilders or just muscular dudes, but all their stuff is like 3 sizes too small.
Yeah.
And it's like all their photos on their lookbook are people like trying so hard to make it look like they're not flexing. But that's you know, compare that to like, you know, again, the Drake's Instagram or something like that.
Right, and try and take those ideas for yourself. You know, like how do I come across like are your pictures coming across as cool or as easy as the Drake's or whatever? I mean, that's a little bit harder. You know, obviously I don't want you guys to spend all your time on social media just looking at pictures of yourself. Yeah. Because I do that. But no, I think translating those ideas into real life is really important. Having a degree of self-awareness. Because otherwise, if you think that you're, like we've talked about, this is like a theme in like the other 3 episodes. Like if you're trying to do it to impress other people, to be superior, to bring others down, not only is that not cool, but people will see that and notice that. And, you know, that's not good. Not good. Yeah. All right. So that's done. Let's go into some question time. Q-tips. All right, here we go. Here's our first one. Okay. Number 1, Spencer, please marry me.
Oh, of course. Who sent that?
This is from I am Jolly GG.
Sure.
I recognize this name. I think I've talked to this person on Instagram DMs a few times. And they have number 2. Ethan, when assisting customers, how do you find a balance between knowing what works well, color or pattern-wise, what your preferences are, and what the customer likes and knows? Do you ever find it challenging to get customers to step outside of their comfort zone in any capacity? Oh, yeah. Well, this actually ties in pretty well, I think. So, in most cases, I think customers have a good idea of what they want. And it doesn't matter if it's Ask Our Chang bespoke, does not matter if it's going to J. Crew. They have an idea of like why they came in and what they want. The salesman aspect, though, is about drawing out what their unconscious wants are and trying to get them to commit to it in that moment. Because like I think that like you know, there's a conspiracy that like, you know, you go to Target and you can never walk out with just one item. That's not true because I've done it plenty of times. But that idea though is like, you know, you've got other stuff that you want in your head, and it's only a matter of time before you actually commit to it and buy it. And so personally for me, when I get to talk to anybody, I can kind of tell what they're already into at that moment. And so I have my own preferences, but honestly, I don't really give them to people unless they ask me. I would just kind of suggest things based on what is in line with what they're doing. Like if they like a white, I might suggest how about a blue shirt, because that, you know, if that's within their comfort level, that's what they're probably going to say yes the most to, right? At that point, it's not just about, you know, getting the sale of the blue shirt, but it's also about seeing, I know this guy has that, like he wants to get more. I know obviously he's Ascot Chang. He wants another shirt, but getting the blue is more of a yes, and like suggesting he try like an Oxford shirt if he only wears like poplins, you know. What do you think, Spencer?
I for the most part agree. You know, I have like kind of weird taste compared to most of the guys that come in to shop at J. Crew, so I don't try to push them into exactly what I'm what I'm into. But if someone comes in and says like, hey, I'm looking for a black suit, like I'll ask, oh, what are you buying this black suit for? And he'll say, it's like, oh, I have a wedding coming up, or a job interview. And then I'll say, don't get a black suit, instead get like a navy suit or a gray. Sometimes they're open to it, sometimes they're like, nope, I want a black suit. And I don't press them further because I don't want to lose the sale. Which is an important part of it.
No, yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't think that people wear my aesthetic anyway, it's kind of
Mhm.
like if I find that they're interested, I will suggest it to them. You know, like,
Yeah.
oh, your collar looks very soft. What did you do with that? You know, like stuff like that. Like
Uh-huh.
I'll tell them and I'll explain why I did it. You know, but for the most part, you know, people are trying to. You know, my goal in the world, you know, outside of my job, is to get people to express themselves in personal style. It doesn't have to be dressed up. Doesn't have to be always be soft shouldered. You know, we have got friends that like strong shoulders, and that's cool for them, and they should do it. I'm not going to try and sell them on any other style.
Yeah,
you
and
know.
it also depends on what they're coming in and asking for. If they say, "Hi, I'm looking for a sweatshirt," I'll be like, "Oh, we just got in this cool, like, kind of 1930s style two-tone sweatshirt. What do you think?" But if they say it's like, I'm not going to push them to get that. If they just come in and say, "I'm looking for, like, I don't know, like a denim jacket or something," even if
Yeah.
I think that the sweatshirt is cool.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
my sales method in general was always like I'd show them like what they're looking for, and then
Uh-huh.
I'd show them something a little bit different.
Yeah.
That way they can be like, and I can be like, this one's got this, you know, like, and I'll be like, yeah, yours is cool, like, you know, not like to their face, but like I'll try and plant the idea like that one, like, the one you want is cool, but there's also this one that's a little bit different.
Exactly.
Could be cool, you know, and having people like see the difference between the two and like showing them the options
Mhm.
is one way to get them to do it. And that's also in general from like for people, you know, people who are asking for advice, you know, like, I want a suit. Okay, yeah, you can get the H&M suit. There's this one, 3-roll 2, wide lapel. It's cool, it's different. You know, it's about rebelling, you know, and slowly getting people to kind of rebel against their preconceived notions of menswear. You know, I
Yeah.
think that's the bigger challenge, and the thing that my blog exists to do, this podcast, that's in my Instagram, that we're trying to do. You know, it's not really about trying to get them on my aesthetic, unless that's what they want.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah. So
I think
thank
we
you for
knocked
your
that one out of
question.
the park.
Yeah, thank you for your question. I am Jolly GG. And we got here's a good one. I think would be good to like. This is a good one to end on. This is from Jeremy, who I'm pretty sure I know who this is, from my Instagram. But he says menswear is boring, and the only thing that deviates with the general populace is what color their socks are. That's pretty good because, you know, like I said, you're not wrong, in a very general sense. Like just like what Ethan Newton said, we're wearing old man clothes for the most
Mhm.
part. You know, we're wearing slacks, we're wearing suits. You know, but I would direct you to the details episode because you know, there's so many different niches within menswear, and yeah, as a whole, we might be wearing the same suit as some H&M guy or some guy going as a salaryman. But when you dig down, there's going to be a difference that you'll notice.
Yeah.
You know, it could be that we're wearing nice, you know, Alden shoes as opposed to Aldo's. It could be that we're wearing a nice rep tie that is different than like an express tie.
Yeah.
You know, and having those things, like, you know, like the same thing, like, you know, there's a difference between like very bad athleisure and good athleisure, or between that and like tech wear or something, you know.
So our advice is just to wear things that are good and cool.
Yeah, if you didn't get that from this episode,
I can't believe no one has thought about that before.
yeah, you've heard it here. You know how to look cool? Be cool.
Yeah.
And wear cool
It's
things.
like that dumb Reddit thing. It's like don't be handsome, or like be handsome and then don't be not handsome, or something like that.
Yeah, no, yeah, the rules of Tinder is be attractive and don't be unattractive.
Yeah.
And it's a meme thing, but it's still a very real thing to do, you know, like I can't even put into words how to explain it correctly, but it's kind of like, you know, just don't do anything that's dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Don't
Be smart.
Don't be dumb. Just be smart.
Uh-huh.
You know, and I, you know, obviously it's a joke answer, but like, it's that discussion of how you're presenting yourself and how others perceive you that will make it not just cool but not boring.
Exactly.
You know, like I don't think anyone in menswear just wears like a plain navy suit. That's boring. I mean, there probably are, but then they'll have other details that make it elevated above other ones. Like again, there is still going to be a big difference between like a 2-button H&M suit that everyone wears to like their high school or even college formal events, to what the armory guys wear. They're both navy blue, but some of them have a little bit, like, could be the fabric, could be the material, could be the way it drapes, could be, the width of the lapel. And paying attention on those things is very interesting, because then I could say something like, oh, you're wearing sneakers. What's the difference between that and fucking Skechers, dude? What's the difference between like a Balenciaga Triple S and Reeboks?
Yeah.
And
mean.
And all. Yeah. Well, I mean, in menswear, some guys make that like argument, but I can see the difference.
Mm-hmm.
I know one is cooler.
Going back to the last like fucking 5 episodes we've recorded, it all has to do with intention.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Having intent behind the way you dress is very important, and people will see it. And that's and when people see it, that's what makes it cool. It's cool to have like have a story. It's cool to have a passion for something.
So be an author.
Yeah.
I don't have a story.
I don't have a curious mind, so I can't be an author.
Oh man, I'm gonna rewatch. I think
I'm gonna rewatch it. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's great. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the episode, as rambling and long as it was. I personally think this is a very important topic to have, because people don't talk about what's cool. I think people always talk about what's the correct thing to do. Like, you watch a couple of YouTubers, you see all these advice from big menswear names, but no one ever talks about why something is cool or why they bought that thing. Because if you think about it in terms of what's correct, what's the most normal thing to wear, it's not gonna have the cool factor. And again, yeah, having passion is like, and intention is like the big thing behind it. So
yep.
Yeah. Don't forget to look at the show notes that will be accompanying this. I know we talked about a lot of different things, so all those pictures will be in there. Please don't forget to not only leave us a question and a submission on our Google form that is in the show notes and on the episode description, but please feel free to rate us. Actually, no, don't feel free. I compel you. Yeah. It's a command.
We bring it up every episode because it really is the most helpful thing you can do for the show.
Yeah, 5 stars if you... Well, yes, just give us 5 stars on iTunes, please. Please. Yeah, and that would be great. If you guys actually left reviews, we will talk about them as on the podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll see you guys. My Instagram is at Ethan M. Wong.
I'm at Spencer DSO.
Don't forget to follow the Instagram. I like the new feed that we're doing now. I've worked hard on it. It's at Style and Direction, all spelled out. We're doing lots of quotes. Big ups to our friend Matthew for compiling quotes for us each episode, and big ups to MJ for editing them on a good basis. We've been pretty good with episodes coming out every 2 weeks, so big ups to those guys. Yeah, you're welcome, guys. But yeah, we say a lot of funny things down here, and I think it'd be cool to kind of record each of those quotes.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye, baby. We'll see you later, Murray.
You're awful, Murray.
What's another good Joker quote I can end on?
What's his... oh, damn. This is bad radio.
No, go ahead. We'll slowly
fade
out.
No. I'm going to be trying to think of a Joker quote, but then I'm just going to start laughing hysterically, and then I'm going to get on like Jimmy Fallon. Okay. Did people in the 80s, I don't think... Okay, maybe I have a misunderstanding of 80s comedy. I don't think they were, like, that wouldn't have flown in 1981 or whatever. Like,
this is also in Gotham City. This is Gotham City.
Okay, so, there was... I don't think it would have gotten on a TV show. That's my problem with the movie. I don't believe it.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.